Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I welcome the Public Health, Tobacco and Other Products Bill and the measures it introduces to streamline, tighten and catch up with regulations related to tobacco products. But there are some key issues that need amendments in this bill. It still allows political donations from vaping companies, and I note the comments from the previous government representative and members calling out donations to the Nationals Party from big tobacco, and yet this very bill on their watch allows for an exception for vaping companies to donate to political parties. So the hypocrisy is there, but I will be moving an amendment to that effect, and I urge those members to talk to their minister to accept those amendments. So vaping use almost tripled amongst Australian adults between 2013 and 2019. For the first time, cigarette smoking amongst teenagers has also increased. Rates of teen vaping have been rising rapidly in Australia. According to data from the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, the prevalence of vaping amongst young Australians has been steadily increasing. As a parent of young adults, it is horrendous to see how pervasive this has become. A survey conducted in 2021 found that 17.6% of 14 to 17-year-olds had tried vaping, and 3.4% were using vaping products regularly. This is an incredibly concerning trend, as it represents a significant rise from under 1% in just 2018. And it's no wonder why. There is an insidious marketing strategy by vape companies being deployed across Australia and the world to lure children into lolly shops that in reality are fronts for the selling of vapes. It's unfolding before our eyes. In my own electorate of Warringah, these insidious illegal vape shops are popping up regularly. Also, as insidious are the appearance of the vapes that they sell, looking and tasting like the lollies that they sit alongside. I continually hear from parents seriously concerned about the prevalence of vapes in schools and vape shops located close to schools. Local media in the electorate of Warringah and our surrounding region, including like the Manly Observer, Northern Beaches Advocate, continue to diligently cover this issue, but the regulation is far behind. How can we have vape shops allowed close to schools, marketing directly to children? The Federal Health Minister has announced in May that legislation would be introduced to stop the importation of both nicotine and non-nicotine vape importation. We are nearing the end of the year with no such legislation before this parliament in relation to that import. So the law and the reality are completely out of step. Since October 2021, nicotine vapes are only available by prescription through pharmacists. This has not stopped their sale through vape shops and online, and often to children. States are taking action, but the federal government must also. So I acknowledge and welcome the $4.3 million in the budget for police raids on illegal vape shops in the New South Wales state budget. But I'm calling on the government here to immediately introduce legislation to stop the importation of illegal vapes, ban disposable vapes and do more to ensure only those with a prescription are accessing nicotine vapes. Additionally, I call on the government to ban such shops, vape shops, from within 300 metres of our school. I mean, it is just incredible that that is being allowed to occur. We must stop the trend of vaping that has almost tripled amongst Australian adults between 2013 and 2019 to avoid its unintended consequences and likely another health crisis. Although vaping has been marketed as a safer alternative to traditional cigarettes, there is growing evidence that it poses significant risks, especially to children and adolescents. A single vape exposes a user to over 100 chemicals, heavy metals, and Queensland researchers are even investigating radioactive polonium-210. So this bill is welcome, but it merely skirts around the edges. Its objectives are consistent with community expectation, but its substance fails to address the biggest issue facing this country in achieving those objectives. So I appreciate that this bill is addressing some of the strategic objectives of the National Nicotine Strategy, and it is updating laws that are approaching sunsetting and forms part of a broader strategy to reduce smoking prevalence to below 10% by 2025 and below 5% or less by 2030. I welcome the definition of selling a vape to include having a vape on a premises, whether or not it is accessible or visible to a consumer. This ensures that prosecution of stores that are masquerading as lolly shops with vapes hidden out the back or behind the counter will not have a potential defence of the product not being for sale. I welcome the broadening of packaging to not only provide warnings but include information on how people can quit to be included. This measure has been successful in Canada. And we know that plain packaging and graphic health warnings on nicotine products works, being attributed to a 25% decrease in smoking between the years of 2012 to 2015 and have been described by academics as a global success story. But we need to make sure we're doing as much as we possibly can in relation to now the scourge of vaping. I also welcome the measures to end the use of terms and additives that imply products are healthier, whether that be light or mild or my personal pet peeve of Alpine, but all flavours should be banned. This is where we see that health, we know of greenwashing, but this is health washing, where that marketing trickery of trying to influence and induce people to thinking that somehow this product is not as bad as it seems. So I support the restrictions on sponsorship, but the government should not be excluded. And finally, I intend to move amendments to further restrict the advertising and online sales of vapes and ensure the government is also prevented from accepting donations from the industries. It is quite incredible that these loopholes are being allowed to remain and should be closed. It's incredible listening to the speeches from government members talking about and accusing the National Party of accepting political donations from the tobacco industry. That loophole should be closed, but so should this one. It is incredible to think, and I wonder how aware are Labor members that this legislation they purport to endorse allows for an exception of political donations from vaping companies. Is this really the standard you stand by? Are these the values your community, the parents in your community, expect of you? So I'm supportive of this legislation, but I will put forward amendments with the intent of making this legislation even better and make a statement on what I know. These are the expectations from parents around the countries. We need to delete a number of clauses from this legislation. The practical effect of this will further restrict physical advertising for vapes, online advertising, advertising on aeroplanes and online sale of vapes. And the amendment in relation to the clause for political donations and electoral expenses to ensure that our political system is not influenced by donations from the vaping lobby. It's just quite extraordinary that that loophole is being allowed to remain. It's perplexing. When I convey that to parents around my electorate, they are simply dumbfounded. So I urge members of the government to talk to your health minister, go back and ask just why this loophole is being allowed to remain in this legislation. It's time to genuinely close loopholes. If we are focused on the health of our children and the next generation and we want to stop the scourge of vaping, influencing them, getting them hooked on nicotine, then let's genuinely do it. But make sure we don't have politicians in this place also hooked on nicotine.
I thank the member for Warringah.